I have this notion, and I don't know if I haven't fully fleshed it out in my mind, that a man should reinvent everything about himself every decade, do a new phase. Because it feels like that's the way it's been for me. Everything changed every 10 years. Where I lived, everything. I don't know if that's sound advice or not, or something that someone's, but static, yeah, I'm not sure.
I have two questions at the outset. I mean, I've heard you say this before, right? And we've talked about it, I think, somewhere else. One, every 10 years, that seems quite a long time, actually. Would we benefit from it being every 5 years, or people talk about 7-year cycles, right? Every 7 years there is
Yeah.
a Saturn returns, and there's something about the gravity shifts. So that's one question. The other thing, maybe slightly facetious, but what what comes up for me is, if you don't reinvent yourself every 10 years or every 7 years or whatever it is, will will the reinvention happen for you? I.e., will life reinvent you, perhaps not to your best conscious design?
Yeah. Like 10 years obviously is arbitrary. You could say every 2 years, right? But it feels like it does follow along the ley lines of the decades of your life. In other words, your 20s have a different flavor than your 30s. And your 30s have a different flavor than your 40s. So I do think it kind of follows along those lines of those decades. You feel differently when you turn 30 and you move from 30 to 40. And your 40s are different and your 50s are different. And maybe some people that are just in the same job year after year, they don't feel that they they don't feel that there's a change. And maybe, like you said, change is imposed upon them, but then that change that's imposed upon them would be something like a health issue.
Yeah.
Um, because you work at the gas station for the next 30 years and just, buy a new TV every 5 years. You could just cycle it. But there's different than that, because anybody who's anybody who's on a spiritual path, which is a cliche, which doesn't mean anything, but anybody who's trying to be more excellent, I guess you could say, or trying to understand their their narrative, the way I say it is their narrative, their story. They're trying to create their life as a story that has chapters. Anybody that sees their journey as a chapter based thing, um, will have these phase shifts. They will because they're learning and growing, and they're curious, and they're heading toward it. The big thing, the big advice, and the big counsel in the last 20 years is the power of now, which is the present is all we have. We have this slice of time. The past is an illusion, and the future is an illusion. And so we should live in the moment, maximize with gratitude the moment we have. And that's sound advice, because it stops us from blaming the past for our situation today, and it stops us from worrying about the future. That's going to take care of itself. But what it does, it risks giving us disservice to narrative and story. We were there, and we're on this trajectory to there in our lives, but also in the history of humanity. Like, we're on the cusp of AI, and in my lifetime, I saw the birth of the internet and the birth of computers when I was a kid. And so there's a narrative of civilization that you get to be part of, and there's a narrative of your life that you can be a part of. And when we concentrate just on the power of now, the singular moment, we may lose track of viewing our life as a story.